Thank you. Can I get some? Oh, thank you very much. Perfect. It's magic, see? I just want something and it happens. Anyway, meeting locally with some of the folks, whether they're doing IT or getting ready for doing IT, right? So whether it's the students or whether it's the young specialists or maybe it's an old specialist, it is also always very exciting. Um, because being in one place or seeing around the world and talking to different people from different industries, it's always and seeing how our technologies are helping others, whether it's a company or a person, to achieve their needs. It's always super cool. Now, let me give maybe a couple of minutes about myself within this whole thing. So I'm with Canonical for the last 6.5 years, and prior to that, I was also in a very similar industry. I was at Mirantis, and I was delivering projects. And then at Canonical, I lead the team of engineers who are actually helping business people in their communications with different partners. And I'll have one of the slides over there to talk a little bit about the ecosystem of who we work with and how we are engaging with the various types of the partners across industries and how we our customers and what kind of the customers we might have, right? And I'll talk a little bit about the company's vision in general, what we do, and how we think we might help the world a little bit. Okay, so let's move on. This is one of the ways to present our understanding of what we actually work for, right? And today, I think Veras was talking about that, and some other folks were talking about that. But we see the technology moving. Well, actually, we can go from different directions, right? So it may be from the small devices all the way to the hyperscalers. It can be from the cloud down to the devices on the edge. But generally, the technology today, it's not sparse across the different types of the environments and so forth, right? So it's the bigger environment of the public clouds. It is the data environments at the company's premises, right? So it is now the edge and some micro environments, whether it's the stores or it's the warehouses or anywhere else, right? So and that's all the way towards the IoT. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to help the organizations to cover the needs of each of these environments and to provide the software that helps them to build some supporting ecosystem at any of these domains, right? So let's move on. As said many times, and I'm so glad to hear that so many times that's been embraced, right? So we are the company behind Ubuntu. And the funny fact, what I keep hearing for all my time at Canonical and even before that, right, is that when we start talking to a partner or we start talking to any customer or any counterpart in many countries in the world, they actually don't know Canonical is, right? So, but many people know what Ubuntu is. Why is that? It's just historically from the day one, Ubuntu has been created as a free software, and many people are using that as on the desktops and at home and at I don't know, multiple locations, right? But nobody knows about Canonical. So it's good and bad at the same time. And but at the same time, why we are proud of what we're doing is because we are allowing people to unlock their potentials and do their businesses, even though we don't get any revenue from that, right? That's okay. So, but at the same time, what they mostly don't know is, let's move on, that we actually do. Let's go to the next slide, please. Please. Yeah, here you go, right? So we do many more than just Ubuntu. Again, it's been said many times, but we keep repeating the same set of the words and share this information that yes, Canonical is doing much more than Ubuntu. And so on one hand, Ubuntu is not just a monolithic product, right? So Ubuntu is a composition of various software, which is open source, and all we do is an open source, and all our software is free, right? But the composition of the product, and this is all products from Canonical. So you can see many things here that are, it's actually not, we are not making this software. We are just making all the software from the communities consumable. And how our CEO said once, and I remember that back from 2018 probably, on one of our internal gatherings, is that there's too many people in the world for making software. There's no need to write more software, right? It's always enough software around the GitHubs and the different other sources, right? So, but our goal as a company is to make that software consumable. So among these logos over here, you can find that things like Ceph and Kubeflow and I don't know, Kubernetes and Ubuntu itself, right, are something that are owned or developed by communities, right? So, and the goal of Canonical is to package that, is to wrap that into the automation, it's to deliver it to the customer with the help of the partners or directly, and then provide the support for that, right? So, which actually means that that software is being used and it's used in the right way, right? So, and other things that are actually developed by Canonical, they are helping to push those open source products into the companies, right? So whether it's the automation framework or it is the service software that helps to deploy other components and so forth, right? So we don't make anything as an end user applications usually, right? So let's move on. Okay. So even from the Ubuntu perspective, right? So yes, indeed, we're releasing that for 20 years. It has been made originally as a desktop system, and then it went to the data center because, I guess, in my personal point of view, right? So only doing the desktop does not help the whole domain of the IT. Obviously, you start from the desktop, you move to the data center, you move to the public cloud, as we saw on the first slide, right? And at the same time, the fact that Ubuntu today is so far the most popular Linux operating system for desktops allows the developers to use it and familiar with that. Then it is so far the #1 Linux operating system in each public cloud because it provides stability, it provides the enough software that's included into that, it provides enough community support, right? So, and so far, it seems that it's the most balanced distro free, right? So that allows different organizations and different individuals to achieve their goals. So we're very proud of that, right? So, and having a huge community around that also makes us feeling very good about what we do, right? Let's move on. So I'll talk a little bit about the ecosystem, right? Because many times when we are asked, are you guys actually close to what you do? Yes, it's free software. Yes, it's fine, right? So, but what do you do as an organization except just composing the software, right? So, and I want to focus a little bit on types of the partners that we are dealing with, right? So each of the sections you see over here represents a huge amount of work that my team in particular and my business counterparts are doing these kind of the partners. Starting from the silicon, it is a huge amount of work we do with Intel and AMD and NVIDIA to make sure that what we, usually anything to do with the kernel, we are making all the enablements and we are performing the thorough testing of components with each of them so that when we release, it actually works, right? And usually it's sitting completely behind the scenes. Nobody noticed that except our engineering teams that are constantly on a daily basis, 365 days a year, they are dealing with their counterparts in the silicon companies. So, but that allows us then dealing with them and going to the next step of the OEMs, for example, to get a credibility that they trust us, right? From the OEM's perspective, I'll move to the right-hand side. HP and Lenovo and Oracle and, well, actually no, Oracle is from the cloud side. Dell, Cisco, and others. So we perform the certification of each release of the operating system on most of the server models of all these OEMs before the server gets released. Which means that, like this year, for example, Dell is going to be releasing the 17th generation of their PowerEdge servers. What we have to make sure is that at the moment of release, we have all of them certified with the current release of Ubuntu. And again, it's a huge amount of work behind the scenes that we do with the respective engineering teams at the OEMs, making sure that what we release and supply works on those boxes, right? Now, on the public clouds, each of them, and now it's actually, all 5 of them are stated here, but primarily the work historically has been going for a long time with AWS, Azure, and the Google Cloud. all the variations of Ubuntu you see in the drop-down menus on each of them, it's actually what Canonical supplies to them, right? So it's not someone creates the images, whether it's AWS themselves or Azure themselves. It is us supplying all these images. And from the numbers perspective, we built around, if I'm not mistaken, 250 images of Ubuntu in the different variations for the public clouds, all the time on a recurring basis, right? So it's a huge amount of work. It's a different department that is only and exclusively having their daily business to build these images, right? So whether it's the custom images, encrypted images, or certified, not certified, but compliant with different standards for different customer needs and so on and so forth, right? For SIs, for global SIs and the local system integrators, it is mostly our goal is to educate them what we do, because historically they've been dealing with Windows, they've been dealing with VMware, and we've been dealing with Red Hat and so forth. So our main goal here, it's actually mostly for the partner division, is to tell them how and why they need to use our technologies, right? Because that's the only way how we can grow and actually share the knowledge with the end customers of what and how the goodness of what we do can be used for the commercial customers, because obviously system integrators are the ones that are dealing with the customers the most, and it's not us directly. We cannot achieve or approach this many of the end customers anyway. So for the ISVs primarily, this is again barely visible from the public point of view, this is where we're talking about the embedding, and which means that any appliance, whether it's a software appliance or a hardware appliance, are using our technologies within those appliances, right? So we may think of any SD-WAN solutions, or it may be any kind of, I don't know, networking solutions, whether it be type of the Cumuluses or you name it, right? Many of them are using either Ubuntu or it's Ubuntu plus some other components on top of that, whether it's Kubernetes, whether it's LXD or something, right? And we are supplying them our bits and pieces in the custom way, in the default way. Many of them, and again, it's barely visible, but it's a huge amount of them today that are using our technologies, right? From the channel has been considered quite a few years ago already as the main way how our products can reach the end customers, right? So because the volume of any of the channel partners that are, the volume of software, it's 1,000 times more than what we can do direct, right? So this is the way to grow for us as well. So basically, all of this is what we do, and that's what my team of technical people are helping our business directors to approach the partner, to work with the partner, to fix issues if they're happening with the partner, and move our software on to the public. Okay, let's go to the next one. I think there was already a representation from Veras on what we do, and there was much nicer one. Now I feel bad about how this picture looks like. But again, this is the representation of the portfolio and how we're trying, again, to help the enterprises or individuals to achieve their goals. I don't think I need to go once again up the stack from operating system, from the provisioning tool, from the system management tool, virtualization options, automation, and so forth. So we can probably skip that and move to the next one. Yep. So if you remember at the beginning when I said that we are looking at all the domains of the IT today, right? So this is the applicability of the products across different types of the domains. Meaning that for the public cloud, we supply Ubuntu in different variations, as you can see. For the private cloud, we can help build the cloud itself and supply automation and supply the Kubernetes layer to allow the customer to run their workloads successfully, whether they are running at the level of the server or they're running on the containerization platform. For the microclouds, we've developed a bunch of products that are allowing to create a small clusters, whether it's one machine or two machines or three machines maybe, right? And to join them together to run a bunch of the workloads across the edge environments, right? And then on the IoT, and that's actually not been represented on the previous slide, but it's a whole ecosystem that historically came from the Ubuntu phone. For those who, if you remember, there was such a thing as Ubuntu phone, right? Now we've got all this legacy and developed the entire a suite of tooling that allows to manage the fleet of the devices very successfully, very efficiently, right? So it's a self-updatable, upgradable, and set of software that can be managed from the stores, pretty much like a phone. So that's the way for us to use our Lego box to approach the customer and to offer them a combination of our products to build solutions that fit their needs. Okay, let's move on. Next one, please. So for the open source infrastructure, I think it's a hot topic for today, mostly with to, as mentioned before, VMware's story, what happened with that last year, and actually it's not just what was happening last year only as a compelling event, but even before we had lots of business that was related to the fact that the customer said we need to diversify, we need to optimize, we need to actually go out of the lock-in situation with the vendors that constantly get us pay and we cannot do anything else. So let's move on. Next one. Basically, this is a set of challenges that every single time the customers are thinking about, or the companies are thinking about, when talking about what they run and how they can optimize, how they can do something better, right? And whether it's specifically for the VMware, right? It's a high TCO. The cost of ownership today, hardware of course has stayed, but the software can be expensive. The vendor lock-in is something that we're trying to address and have as one of the main benefits today. Right, so because we allow the customers to use free software, and we're not only charging for support. At any point of time, they can just stop purchasing anything and continue using it, right? From the flexibility and innovations, the same way, right? So they're using the latest technologies. They can innovate by themselves because the software is very flexible as of today, what they can use, right? We provide constant flow of patching and upgrades, and it's on the automatic fashion. And scalability and modularity is something what we're proud of, and Veras was talking about that, of how easily and how flexibly the environment can be built, right? Let's move on. So basically the repetition of why our customers or the customers of our partners might want to consider to deal with us, right? And again, is it cost effective? Yes, it's cost effective for two reasons. First, because we try to just make it not expensive, and the second is they can use the same software for free on the dev test environments, on their POC environments, MVP environments, what have you, whatever that exists, right? It is 100% open source, and we try to make it very clear and very important to the customer that none of our software is something that they cannot share within the organization, between organizations, that they can take at home, they can use in their sister companies, branches, or anything like that, right? So there's absolutely no limitations of using the software. Cutting edge is something what we try to work very hard on, including the kernel, including the packages in the operating system, including the releases of whether it be Kubernetes or OpenStack or Ceph or anything like that, right? So we are working closely with the community and release packaged products within usually when the community the product. Community adoption, because the software is free and we don't have any kind of two variations of the software, paid version and the free version, right? So it's always free, and that's why people are obviously taking that and using them. And at the same time, the main business of Canonical is support. And that's why what we actually provide as a paid product to the customers is the enterprise grade support. So, next one, please. So I want to frame this slide slightly differently to what it states, right? So we try to think of anything as a cloud. And it took for me personally a little bit of time to figure out why is that, right? So, but is a cloud. It's fine, right? So on the data center side, we provide the components of the software that allows to build the cloud. That's like all the time, right? For containers ecosystem, same way. We try to make it cloud-like, and it natively is kind of the cloud or the same as what the public clouds built in the beginning, right? So with detachable as a service software and so forth. For the software as a service, again, we are providing the automation that allows to deal with the bits of software the same way as what you're dealing with the cloud itself, right? So on any layer, thank you so much. Let's move quickly. I think I have two more because I still need to give you a teaser in the end. Let me see. Yes, let's go to the next one. So the representation of the stack of the infrastructure is like here. I know it's pretty small and you cannot see that, but anyway, it is the same stack of the software from the provisioning mechanism to the virtualization, to the software-defined storage, to the containers and so forth, and it can be applicable, or components of this stack can be applicable to each of the layers or each of the domains of the IT. And next one, I'll try, so two more, that's fine, we should be fine. If I zoom in, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, it's been spoken quite a bit today already, but two main options for building the cloud at the data center, which I think it's very important today for Asia Pacific in particular, because public clouds are pretty expensive, right? So this becomes very hot topic for many of the customers today and many of our partners today, right? So because they need to build something as a substitute for the VMware environment. So please learn this, please consider to look at this, and we'll be very happy to help our customers to learn that. We will be happy to basically help anyone who wants to learn about that, right? And I'll give one of the use cases for what it can be used for. Let's move to the next one, and hopefully the last one as well. So what it is, and I don't think it's been spoken today about as a componentry, right? So you still see the same ecosystem underneath, right, as the infrastructure. On top, you can see a bunch of components, and what it is. This is the dynamic and composable, what we call it MLOps platform, right? So something that you use today, or what you can use today, the whole thing, or bits and pieces out of it, for running AI, which is a very hot topic today, and what we try to give the customers as a complete framework for ingestion and storing the data, for training the models, and for serving the models, right? This is a perfect workbench for pretty much anybody who wants to take the open source models out of whoever is providing them and run them. Run them meaning they can take their data, they can feed it into the model, they can build the pipelines on that whole suite for actually efficiently making their AI happening. And that is all completely open source. They can use the infra, they can run the suites on top of the infra. This whole ecosystem is provided by Canonical. So with that, I guess this is the last one. Please, next. Yes, any questions? But, oh well, I don't have time for questions, I think. Unless you give me time. So anybody? Oh wow, no questions. So either I was very efficient or I was very boring. Should be fine? All right, thank you so much then.